So let's dive into a topic that's on everyone's mind: how we protect our data when AI gets involved. This isn't about tearing up the rulebook we've spent years writing. It's about adding a crucial new chapter, one that adapts our best practices for a world where AI is at the heart of everything we do.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. AI hasn't come in and erased the rules of security, not at all. What it has done is completely change the environment, the playing field where those rules operate. Our core principles are as solid as ever, but we need to see how they apply in this new landscape.
All right, so what does this new environment actually look like? Well, before we jump into what's new and different, I think it's really important to ground ourselves in the fact that we're starting from a place of real strength.
Look, modern security is incredibly robust. The hard work we've all done on things like zero trust, on continuous verification, that's the foundation for everything that comes next. Those aren't just buzzwords, they are the absolute table stakes for doing business securely. AI doesn't make any of that obsolete. In fact, it makes it more critical than ever.
Okay, so if our foundations are so solid, what's the big deal? What is it about AI that's forcing us to evolve our approach?
Well, here's the key. The big change isn't about who gets access. We're actually pretty good at that part. The real shift, the thing we need to wrap our heads around, is what happens in the milliseconds after a trusted, verified AI system gets the green light to use the data it's supposed to.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. We have to look at how the very idea of data in use is changing. You know, it used to be a fairly straightforward concept, but with AI, it's evolved. It's not just about data being accessed anymore. It's about data being reasoned over. Let's break that down a little. Traditionally, when we said data in use, we meant things we could see. A user runs a query, an app downloads a file. These actions leave footprints, logs, predictable patterns that we can monitor. But now, with AI, the use is this unseen reasoning process. Data is pulled from all over, it's recombined, it's interpreted, all to create this temporary thing we're going to call context.
So what exactly is this context? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a temporary, just-in-time workspace. An AI model needs to answer a question, right? So it reaches out, grabs pieces of authorized data from multiple secure places, and pulls them all together into this little bubble just long enough to figure out an answer.
And here is the challenge. This whole process of creating context is completely legitimate. It's exactly what we want the AI to be doing. But because it happens so fast, and it happens inside an already trusted and verified process, it's basically invisible. It's a blind spot for a lot of our current tools that are busy watching the perimeter.
This invisibility creates what you could call the reasoning blind spot. It's this new space where exposures can happen, not because someone broke in, but as a natural side effect of how these intelligent systems actually work.
And inside this blind spot, at least 3 new kinds of exposure pop up. First, there's unseen recombination. The AI pulls perfectly fine data from source A and source B, but when it puts them together, suddenly a sensitive insight is revealed that wasn't visible in either source alone. Second, you've got transient persistence. Little bits of that context get left behind in a cache or a log file, creating these little untracked shadow datasets. And third, there's derivative leakage, where the AI's answer doesn't give away the raw data, but it regenerates the sensitive information in a new form.
Now, I want to be crystal clear here. This is not a failure of zero trust. This isn't a sign that our security principles are broken. These are side effects of a brand new type of data activity, one that happens inside the secure zone long after all our checks and balances have already given the thumbs up.
So that naturally leads to the big question, right? If this is happening in a blind spot, how in the world do we shine a light in there? How do we extend our protection into this new reasoning loop?
The answer is all about extending the trust we've already built. The goal isn't to create new walls or new barriers. It's about pushing the amazing principles we already rely on deeper, right into the AI's reasoning process itself. And the key to doing this is focusing on a new control point, what we can call the context assembly layer. This is that critical moment where data from all the different sources is gathered together for the AI. This is our golden opportunity. It's the perfect enforcement point to check if the combination of data is safe, not just the individual pieces.
And focusing on that layer leads to 3 evolving practices that build directly on what we already do well. First, context-aware access control, basically checking the risk of the combined data. Second, ephemeral management, making sure that temporary workspace is truly temporary and cleans up after itself. And third, observability,
finally getting us visibility into that reasoning process so we can protect what we can actually see.
So let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. What this all means is that our idea of data protection has to evolve. It needs to become, well, it needs to become context-aware.
Think about it like a handshake. For years, we focused on perfecting the handshake, making sure the right people and the right systems are connecting securely. We've gotten really good at that. The new frontier, the new challenge, is governing the conversation that happens after the handshake is over.
For anyone in a security leadership role, this isn't some brand new thing to worry about. This is the next logical step in maturing your zero trust strategy. Once you've mastered identity and access, the real differentiator, the thing that sets you apart, will be your ability to get visibility and control inside that reasoning process.
And that's really the main takeaway here. Protecting the context isn't just a catchy slogan. It's a fundamental reminder for all of us. As our systems get more and more intelligent, our protection has to become more and more aware. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As we all race to figure out how to implement this new kind of protection, there's another question that might be just as important. Who owns it? Is it the security team, the data team, the AI team? Getting that organizational piece right might be just as critical as the technology itself. Thanks so much for tuning in.